Welcome, everyone, to tonight's Wednesday Night Live show. I am your host, John Truncali. Our co-host tonight is our resident rocker, Tim, and our super bam bomb, Allison, is back with us. Welcome back, Allie. We got lots to talk about tonight. We're going to kind of try to focus. I know Grim did his show the other night, right? Tuesday or Wednesday. It was I get his days mixed up.
I saw it yesterday.
Yeah, on the tax, and we're going to talk a little bit about that ourselves tonight. Tim has got news and advocacy. Allie, I think you got something, right? You got something you want to talk about today? You got something on your mind?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, always. Allie's always got something. We're just glad to see Allie. I'm just happy to see Allie's face in the little squares on my TV, and I hope everybody else is happy to see Allie back. Tim.
Yeah.
How's your week going, buddy?
I don't know, I just had a thought now that we live inside squares. I wonder if there's a way where we could maybe on one of the shows when we do a break and have fun.
I'll come to my house and do the show live.
No, because right now airplane ticket to California is probably about $1,400.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to take a rain check on that one. But I can be in your living room by virtue of StreamYard. So it's all the same thing. Yeah. No, I was gonna say, since we live in squares, it would be fun if we could figure out a way to construct somehow in our own weird way, like a version of Hollywood Squares,
Oh, yeah.
And then have like the question kind of thing, and then we could, all of us could kind of give our silly answer. The person gets to pick somebody to give the answer or whatever, and then they got to say whether that'd be kind of fun. I don't know how that would play out. We might have to plan that one. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just kind of popped in my head when you said squares. So I'm like, let's relive the 70s again,
Yeah, Wednesday Night Live, the Hollywood Squares edition.
Exactly. Yeah, something. I don't know. We can do it based on vaping or something. I don't know. We'll have to figure something out. It'll take a little planning.
I could have 10 on here.
It could work. What Hollywood Squares was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was 9, right? It was 9. Right. Yeah, I think we're gonna SOL because then you still need we need a game show host and 2 contestants, so we would be over the limit. Maybe we can make it like an abbreviated version with only like 6 people providing the. I'm sorry, we're brainstorming on live. We're doing the live show right now. Yeah. Anyway, just made me think about that. No, this week's been pretty average. I nothing really exciting to talk about. I just want everyone to know that the hockey's back. Hockey is the season has started, and my team is playing tonight, but I'm not going to watch because vaping is far more important than some silly hockey game on television. So I just want you all to understand the sacrifices that I make for this show. I could be sitting there watching my team probably lose, but that's okay. No, you know what? It's odd that I never have too much to talk about or have anything to really kind of like,
but that's okay.
Drone on about. So no, that's it. Nothing.
What you got to share with everyone what your hockey team is. You got to let them know that, Timmy.
Washington Capitals, folks. Caps, CAPS, caps. Well, and I'm not doing it because I'm a bandwagon fan, and I'm not doing it because I want to see Ovechkin break Gretzky's record, which, give him a couple more seasons. I think he's going to pull it. But, they've been my team. I grew up in the DC area. I guess I could add one little story. I did go to, so one of my friends puts together an annual fall wine trip. So we all go pinkies up and take a trip to the wineries here in Georgia. And this year we went to a local one, which was really kind of cool. It was called the Painted Horse Vineyards. And it was cool because it was like the winery was all set up, but you were amongst a farm. It was kind of cool. So it was like the inner child got to come out in me, and I got to go, gobble at turkeys and cluck at chickens and try to pet horses and goats and stuff. So, yeah.
I am now picturing Tim taunting goats and turkeys.
No, I just didn't want any of the animals spitting in my face. I don't know. I see that on YouTube a lot. Luckily, they didn't have any alpaca or llama or anything. So, but they had like several horses, and then they had rides for the kids. So they had like ponies and stuff, so the kids could take pony rides.
Nice.
But yeah,
nice.
It was fun.
So it's basically like a fall festival.
No, it's just about 18 or 19 of us all meet up, and we all go to the wineries and just proceed to get drunk. How about that?
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Because our winery had a couple of weeks ago had the little fall festival out there, and we all went. They had live music. It was pretty cool. Shitty vendors. But,
no, for us, it's we go to a place. We go somewhere where we look totally out of place. Like normally, you don't walk into a winery and see like 8 or 9 dudes with really long hair standing around pretending like they know a bunch of shit about wine when we don't. We just pour it in a glass and drink
it. Another bottle, servant.
Yeah, you got to swish it around, smell it, take a.
You got to write your notes on the little card.
You got to look the part.
You got to stick your nose deep inside the glass, inside the glass.
It's have legs.
It's getting drank no matter whether it sucks or it's good. It's
just save yourself next time. Say, "Oh, this is just so peppery. I love the pepper." And Allie is back. Welcome back, Allie. We have
guys.
Missed you. Glad you're here tonight.
Thanks for bearing with me. It's been crazy busy. Went to a couple fun concerts and had a lot of band stuff going on. My son's high school marching band just had a competition last weekend at Bands of America regionals, which was awesome. It's the first time that they've ever performed there. And they finished in 8th place out of 23 bands, which I thought was really great. They did fantastic. So that was a lot of fun. It was at the Coastal Carolina University in like close to Myrtle Beach. So that was a fun little weekend trip. So we have one more home game, which is the senior game, which is on Friday. So I get to walk them across the field, my little senior. And then it lightens up for about a week. And then jazz band, and then all county auditions, and all the other bands that he does. So, but they don't take as much of my time up as marching band does. So it'll be a nice little break. But I'm also sad that it's over because it's, the last marching band season before he goes to college.
Now you get to go to college games now. So,
go Gamecocks.
Yeah. Do they do the same thing our senior year? The dad comes out. The dad wears your jersey or your varsity jacket, and then the mom, we hand the mom a rose. I don't know if they do the same thing.
No, they don't do that. He doesn't have a jacket because he plays the trumpet. So there's no jerseys.
Right. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Like a band thing.
We just walk them across the field and take a picture. And the band is huge, though. Like the band has so many kids. It's going to take a while. So, and then the following week is trunk or treat. So I'm going to decorate my little Mini Cooper and head on over there and do that with the marching band.
I was going to make fun of you today, but I do not know any. I'm sorry. I don't know any Jonas Brothers songs. I was going to Google them and then just sing songs.
I really thought you would have known.
I can't. Tim, you know any?
Know any what?
Jonas Brothers songs.
I don't, unfortunately. I'm sorry, everyone. I just, of all the bands that I study, from, line for line, bar for bar, I missed the Jonas Brothers.
You forgot the Jonas, yeah. But I mean, it is a lot of fun. I've been going to Jonas Brothers concerts for the last 16 years. So
wow, they've been around that long?
Yeah, 20 years they've been around. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I was going to Google the song lyrics to one of the songs, and then I was like, well, what are their songs called? So I looked them up. I was like, no. And then I said, I'll do Waffle House.
It's a good song. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, though.
That's cool. I'm glad. Timmy.
Yes.
You know what time it is.
I think. Hold on, let me check my watch. Oh my gosh, it's 1/2 past a monkey's hair. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Live Show. Let's go down our beautiful roster of THR advocates and friends of the Wednesday Night Live Show. Starting from the top, the guy who came in, I have to give him lots of credit. He actually showed up early to let us know that he was going to be late, and he'll be back. But Tom Morowitz will be back to the show. He had to pick up his pup. His pup was at doggy daycare, so everyone wish Tom safe journeys back from the doggy daycare. Mallory Gates, always wonderful to see you. How are you doing, Mallory? Mr. Curtis Funny Pants Clemens is in the house. How you doing, Curtis? He's got a million of them, right? That should be his middle name. Curtis, I got a million of them, Clemens. What's up, brother? Good to see you. Let me get past all of Curtis's messages. Hold on. Pam Spraggins, good to see you, Pam Spraggins. How are you? Wonderful to see you back on the show. I'm scrolling. Oh, good Lord, don't go blank on me here, freaking computer. All right, hold on. There's a lot of Curtis. I got to get through all the Curtis. Hold on. Curtis, just maybe next time put it all in one big long post. And then that would save me a little carpal tunnel here, brother. James R. The pirate is in the house. Good to see you, James. Welcome back to the show. How's the galleon ship doing? I don't know what to ask in regards to that. Let's see. And then we got Land of the Lost World of JJ. Welcome to the show, Lost World of JJ. Great to see you. How you been, bro? We're going. Oh, I know I missed somebody. Hold on. I think I missed somebody.
Uh-oh.
No, I didn't miss anybody. I'm still on a roll here. Let's go. Oh, I saw Michael Redfern. I saw his name pop up right there. He's right there. Hi, Tom. From Michael Redfern. Good to see you, Mr. Michael Redfern. How are you, sir? And I think that's it for now. For now. So yeah. Welcome to the show.
You almost had me, Mallory, but I knew that wasn't Jonas Brothers as well, because I was like, wait a minute, that's not them. Bop is the Hansons, right?
I thought the Jonas Brothers were just Taylor Swift songs, but guys singing.
Ouch.
Oh, don't. We just got her back, Tim.
Hey,
we just got her back.
John has been, sitting in his basement rather outwardly depressed and upset because he lost out on Taylor to Mr. Travis Kelce. So I feel for you, brother. I'm sorry. But you know what? There's plenty of Taylors in the sea. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, they look good. They look good together. Well, I figure with him, she doesn't need a bodyguard. He's fucking huge. That guy is huge, man.
Exactly.
I mean, he's like 6 something. I mean, he's almost 240. He'll protect her.
I got a funny feeling they both have security detail, but
yeah, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. I just can't wait to see a grown man cry after she breaks up with him.
I can't wait to hear the songs.
Yeah, really. I can't wait for the breakup. That's all I got to say.
Your latest hit, you left me at the 50-yard line.
You fumbled our love. That'll be the name of the song.
Flag on the play.
Legal.
What do you mean my end isn't that tight?
Oh man! Oh whoa, Timmy.
That just went to a place that was pretty hilarious.
I for a second there I thought it was on the BS show. For just a second I thought it was on the BS show. I had to go check my show notes, make sure I was on the right show. We're going to talk we're going to talk a lot about Jim McDonald's article, Fight a Vape Tax. And but before we start that, I'm going to put the link in the chat. I'm sure everyone that's in chat right now has already gone over to CASA and filled out that what do you call it? Why is my mind going back? Take of action call.
Call to action, John.
Call to action, man.
Call to action, brother.
I tried to let you get it.
Yeah, it was. I was going to say Rolodex, but that I'm making me too old. The little mouse in my head was running as fast as he could to get those words out, and he just couldn't. But Allie and Tim helped me out. Yeah, I'm sure everyone has already, but it's in the chat there if you haven't done that yet. Allie, real quick, is that you have to be a U.S. citizen, correct, for these calls of action?
I would assume so, because you have to plug in an address, so it goes to those representatives.
Everyone can use my address if you like. As far as I'm concerned, everyone lives at my house in order to
send. Me too, and I will claim all of you on my taxes next year.
And Michael, you bring up a good point, because that was something I was considering trying to do today. It's just everyone kind of looking up their representatives for their state and see where they sit as far as vaping. I think that should be, maybe we'll do that next week. I think that would be a good idea. Just kind of get a general idea where everyone's state sits and who's representing their state and how they feel about vaping. I think would be a
when
great
you fill out the CASA, once you plug in your address, it actually shows you like a swipe at the bottom. You can see all of your reps there, and then you can just click on that. And because I message them through CASA, but then I also message them separately.
Yeah. So I think that would be a good idea. Just kind of get everybody's general, just figure out where everyone's representatives stand. But we wanted to talk about the Senate Bill S-2929, introduced by another Democrat from Illinois, Dick
Good old
Durbin.
Raja.
No, Dick. This is Dick.
That's right. That's
Mr. Durbin.
Mr. Durbin tried to pass a similar equity bill 2 years ago, but was removed a few days to spare by Nevada Democrat Senator, I think it was Cortez, right? Which made me wonder. I was trying to remember that bill that he tried to pass a few years ago, and I was wondering how much different that bill is today. And I think the bill prior didn't have, I think it didn't take into consideration DIY. And I think this new bill, they really touched on going after DIY.
Yeah, they're paying attention to what we do, for sure.
Yeah, big time. So I couldn't remember it. If anybody remembers the bill he tried to pass a few years ago, and to see what differences are between the two bills. Yeah, Timmy's our research. What do you call them? What do they call those people that work for free?
An intern.
Intern. There it is. Tim's our research intern over at the Wednesday Night Live show.
What year? What year was this that he did that?
That would have been the last.
I found it.
Yeah. Okay, good. See, she's faster than me on the fingers.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious to see how similar the two bills are. But what I've noticed from the difference between these two bills is that the focus on not just DIY, but also going after loose leaf tobacco, cigars now, which gives us a little hope, wouldn't you say, Allie? Putting the cigars in there, I think, brings in a different group of people to the fight.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder if that's because they just skirted the FDA, some of the cigar industry. I don't know if that's why he decided to include it, but
yeah,
just the thing that frustrates me the most about those things is that they've done this before, where they kind of pull everybody into the game, and then they go ahead and make special concessions for certain other groups. And it's like, I'm not saying that cigars get preferential treatment, but it feels like they get some preferential treatment. And I don't want anybody to be taxed like that. Like, I don't want any one of us to have to suffer with anything like that. But I just don't. I never seem to quite understand why that's sort of given some carte blanche. Maybe it's because senators like to, puff on their stogie while they're golfing, and they, they don't want to pay that tax either. So.
Yeah, and sometimes when not even just this bill alone, but what I've noticed with a lot of bills, when they get entered in, and then what ends up happening at the end, sometimes I get the feeling, and maybe you guys do as well, that they're just cramming as much stuff as they can in there to use as bargaining chips.
Sure.
And by the time it ends up becoming a bill or getting passed, a lot of those things they have gotten out. They're just saving face and saying, hey, we're going to put cigars in there. We're going to put loose leaf tobacco. We're going to put snuff in there this time. We're going to add all this stuff, knowing that stuff is going to get pushed out and eventually end up with, what they really wanted, which was to go after the vaping industry. And that's the sense I get. Do you guys get that as well?
Yes, especially with these guys.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes me so angry, because it's just like, okay, that's why I wanted to see the differences between the two bills. Was snuff in there? Was loose leaf tobacco in there? Was cigars part of that first initial bill? And I would love to know why Democrat Senator Kathleen, I think Cortez, decided to jump in at the last minute, because I'm kind of curious, because we have another Democrat going up against another Democrat, and I know, and granted, it is the state of Nevada, which is a little bit kind of half and half. They can either go either way. They could either be very liberal, or they could be very conservative with issues there in that state. So I would love to know why she did that. What do you think she had somebody in her pocket telling her, hey, this stuff can't go through?
Well, maybe next week when we have Drew
Yeah.
Johnson, who's running for Congress in Nevada. Maybe, I mean, he's been very influential and he's spoken up quite a bit. I don't know if maybe he had something to do with it, but that's a good question to ask him.
Yeah, I will make notes of that. I didn't realize. I thought he was a Tennessee guy.
No, he's Nevada.
Oh, he's Nevada. Okay. Well, that now I'm very curious, because I'm sure he will know exactly what took place for her to step in, because that's for her to step in and go up against the party on this bill, something that they've been really pushing for a long time to try to get passed. I'm kind of curious to see why she did that. And was there something else in that bill she needed to get through there? That's the thing. It's just a fucking game. It's just
that's the way it always is.
Yeah.
And because inevitably,
so she basically said that she's been clear from the start she will not raise taxes on anyone making less than $400,000 and would not support measures that hurt Nevada's small businesses.
Good for her. I gave her one of these.
Well, so, I mean, don't you think though that it kind of makes sense for someone to create some opposition anyway? I mean, when you're talking about, getting in office and staying in office, you can't always particularly play one side of the coin, and indicatively, just because with the political climate that we're in now anyway, where it seems as though the scale can tilt at any given time based on sort of just where the social justice components lie. Someone can lose support pretty quickly if they stand on some hill and try to defend it staunchly one way or the other. I don't know. I just, when you look at everything that's going on in the world today, people are like flip-flopping all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to play both sides of the base somehow. Like, okay, there's a chance I'm going to lose this contingent because of this decision. I better go find some other voters somewhere else. So I better find one particular hot button topic that I can magically show support for.
Yeah.
Which
that's why it's so important to fill out that call to action, flood those inboxes for them with constituents that will not vote for them again if they do something like this.
Yep. And for those this is it right here. Let me show it. I'm not going to, I already took the No, John. Yeah, John is very tired today.
Yeah,
I already felt, but yeah, it's right here. The link's in the chat. I'm assuming everyone that's in our chat right now has already done this. That is a U.S. citizen. But yeah, get on over there. Share that link on your social media. Share it on your Facebook. Share it everywhere, and add a little story to it. Don't just share the link, guys. I think we're at the point where we need to share why we want you to even take the time to read this call of action. I think that's important, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Tim, I can't hear you. I was praising him last week that he had no more mic.
No, some beautiful idiot in my neighborhood decided that right now at roughly 7:30 in the evening is a great time to light off fireworks, which I guess they don't live with two dachshunds that basically bark at wind blows and dogs. These two bark. So let's just go light off fireworks on a night like tonight, which made no sense. No, I certainly think it's worthy of inserting your own story. I'm not sure what the presentation is on the inboxes of these senators when these particular things come across. I'm sure they probably got some kind of a digital crawler that probably looks at the context of the incoming message. And when they start seeing repeating stuff, it probably perpetuates itself as some element of spam, although you can request a response. So more than likely, you're just going to get some canned, pasted response in return. Like for example, I think the one year that I requested it was about a year or so ago from Senator Warnock. He admonished himself from having any relevancy to the subject. I mean, it was the same kind of droning talking points that you see. Oh, well, I'm here on the behalf of the people and protecting blah, 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 blah. And you're like, yeah. But what about me? What about me? What about us? What about the rest of us? Like, I'm not out here like intentionally trying to harm kids with the thing that I'm trying to preserve. But I think I remember on the one where he was attached to it, he's like, I'm not on that committee that votes for that or something like that. So I don't know what left him out of the loop on that one, but that was, so you can at least get the response and see what general garble they like to talk about.
Sometimes you get a response and it doesn't even have anything to do with what you sent. That's always fun.
I like the ones that just thank you for taking the time. That's it. There's no other response to anything about the bill. You filled out for. It's just thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We will look into this matter. Bam, and then his name. Sincerely yours. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, mine said something about like emissions and stuff like that, and I was like, I didn't say anything about any of that in my email.
But I think at the same time, we should probably read a little bit about the context of exactly what this bill addresses.
Right, I'm going to do it.
Everyone is fully aware, rather than just sort of brush it over and just be like, "Oh, fill out this call to action."
Right.
But what I was going to say in regards to that though is that, and I've lost my train of thought because I was so focused. I'll come back to it. Don't worry. I'll circle back. How about that? I'll circle back.
Circle back. Where's my little mouse? Where's my little mouse? Oh, I got rid of it. I had something set up for us when we had those blank spaces in time on a show, and it was just this mouse running around a wheel.
I got it. It came screaming back to me. It came back to me. So no, but what I think this particular time around, and it's probably one thing we haven't shown is strength in numbers. It's about volume, right? This isn't just necessarily about your individual story, because this is something that's going to affect all of us, right? This isn't, this is wide ranging. But I think the one thing that all of these senators need to see in some collective format is volume. Just so many people sending in this call to action to speak up. And I think that's where we've heard several times that, a lot of times there's not much volume behind it. So if they're not seeing the numbers, then they're going to be like, it's not really affecting that many people. So this is really more about volume.
Yeah, I know exactly. I think this is a time for everyone to really contribute and be part of this, because these are big numbers, guys. If passed, the Tobacco Tax Equity Act would add a federal tax to 100.66 per 1,810 milligrams of nicotine to all tobacco-free nicotine products. So they're going a bottle of e-liquid with no nicotine in it will still be taxed. Correct, Allie?
I think so. I don't know how that works if it has no nicotine in it.
Well, it seems like all the other tax bills still put a tax on zero nic.
I mean, I assume you can always add a nic shot, right? So they're probably taking that into consideration.
Yeah. They're figuring you're going to get a nic shot somewhere, so we might as well get you now before you go and do that. So, and then get you again when you buy the nicotine shot, of course.
Yeah.
That's about 5.5 cents per milligram of nicotine. A consumer who vapes 50 milligrams of nicotine salt e-liquids would pay an extra $2.75 per milliliter of juice, or $82.50 for a 32 ml bottle
Yeah, it would
Fuck
kill
you.
the industry. Well, and it doubles the tax on cigarettes too, but still, it still ends up being cheaper to buy cigarettes.
It still would end up being cheaper to buy cigarettes. And I know this in the top of my head, but I forgot to look it up. A 30 ml bottle will be equivalent to how many packs of cigarettes? Anybody remember that?
I don't.
I mean, we never really went by that when we would sell it to customers because everybody vapes differently, just like everybody smokes differently. We would just went by the nicotine level, really.
Right. I used to have that number in my head, and I remember someone did the math and tried to figure it out. If you were a 2-pack a day smoker, this 30 ml bottle would last you, whatever. Let's see here. The normal price. Yeah, it would be a 60 ml bottle at 12 milligrams e-liquid would increase by about $40. So that would be your what do they call it? Your freebase. That would not be this. So they're going after salt in general, and we know why. I mean, that's become the go-to product now in most disposables. So the disposable prices. So the disposable prices would be. I had that written down somewhere on here. Did anybody got that? A 60 mil, or would add about $14 to the price of a 5 mil disposable vape.
Right. Nobody's going to buy that.
$14, yeah, to a 5 mil disposable vape.
Long live the illicit market.
Well, right, and what are people paying now? I don't know. It's been forever since
I paid
like $20 for a 5,000 puff.
Yeah,
is average.
Yeah, how many mils are in that?
I don't know. How many's in this, Allie? Because I paid $25 for this.
I would assume that's a 6 as well. I mean, because the elf bars I think are 6.
Yeah, I have the box somewhere. Yeah, that was $25, and I just for shits and giggles bought one just to have it and for work. So I didn't carry it, and it lasted me like 4 days. I had to I can charge it again, but you can't refill it. But yeah, that was $25. So if that's going to be increased by 14, that's insane. That's insane.
Yeah, and you can't cut the price down any lower. I mean, with you won't be able to make a profit anymore.
Right. DIY juice. Here we go, guys. They got smart. They've been paying attention to us over the years, and they know that a good portion of you guys that are out there that are making your own e-liquid, they figured out how to go after you guys as well. They didn't forget about you guys this time. They're going after you guys. So DIY vape juice makers, a 1 liter bottle of 100 milligram nicotine will be taxed. I still, just seeing the number makes me like, are you freaking kidding me? Taxed at more than $5,000. So $5,000 for 100 milligram bottle of nicotine. That is fucking crazy.
And that's going to pass down to the consumers when it has to go through the e-liquid makers. So never mind the people that somehow could magically afford that at home to make their own and preserve for much longer. But when you talk about these, large e-liquid manufacturers, they're going to have to pass that cost back down to the customers because they're taking on that tax. And then in turn at the storefront, you're going to get taxed on top of that. So
Tim, I did not even think about the manufacturer end of it. I was just thinking the DM part, the DIY part, but yeah, you're right. I mean, that's on top of the tax. You're also going to pay for that cost. Yeah. For them having to pay $5,000, and they're not buying 100 milligrams of nicotine. They're buying 55-gallon drums of nicotine. I don't even want to do the math on that.
Liquid gold, man.
That's more than the price of crude oil. Way more than the price of crude oil.
So I guess on the Learning Channel, we won't have shows like the Moonshiners anymore. It's going to be called the Nicotiners.
Yeah.
Nicotiners. It'll just be these guys out in the woods.
These toothless dudes from West Virginia just extracting nicotine from tobacco plants in the middle of the woods, with what kind of dog do they always have? They always have like a Benji kind of dog. No, they always have like a Benji kind of dog.
Oh, yeah.
Named like Tulip or something. Or they're gonna have what's those little Jack Russell Terrier?
Yeah, the theme song will be the good old boys never no home. Just be guys in the cars in their General Lees with trunks full of nicotine, just going through some back roads and shit.
Yeah, but you know what? Somehow we got to get that guy Tickle on the show again. I don't know, for some reason that show wasn't complete without Tickle. So
well, yeah, we got to get you. Got to. I'm sure I'm not going to offend anyone in the South, but I'm sure there's a boss hog somewhere in one of those towns out there in the South.
There's several. What do you mean?
Those big got boys. Oh my goodness!
They come into the store and be like, "I need to get my flints," and I'm like, "Flints? Yeah, you know my flints." And I'm like, "Coils?"
Yeah. Exactly. It's a scary thought because that's just when criminals see those numbers, to them that's like opening up a new bank to them, and getting a new source of income. And with these kind of numbers, fuck selling pot, screw selling any drugs. Nicotine has become the new cocaine of the 2023, 2024, because literally a 55-gallon drum of nicotine is going to be worth a lot more than any bag of friggin' cocaine or fentanyl or whatever else you're trying to sell. Because at $5,000 for 100 milligrams, and if you got guys bringing in 55-gallon drums of this shit, that's a lot of fucking money. And then you're not sure how the quality of that product is, because it's going to be made in some like Tim says, some backwood farm.
Well, that's what I mean is it's going to end up, I mean, I can't necessarily say that, out of the gate, it's going to end up being something detrimental or harmful. I mean, you have to worry about the conditions at which they're using it, how they're making the e-liquid, because, a lot of these kind of pop-up, illicit market people, they don't have the knowledge on, what kind of keeps it safe and clean. It's like they just know that somebody wants X, Y, and Z, and they're going to find a profitable way to provide it, even if that means at the face it's not going to look like it's costing you anymore. Do you know what I mean? I guess my point is, if I can avoid going to a store and buying something because I know it's going to cost me a lot of money, and I can go behind a corner in a guy's trunk and get something relevant for a much better price. In that regard, darn well they found another way around making it cheaper, either by cutting it or doing something to it to make it go a lot further. So
that's how we ended up with the Vali, because you're cutting the THC with the vitamin E acetate.
Yeah.
Right. And so
I guess Durham tried to introduce the Care for Moms Act, which I don't know how that is part. Is that part of this same bill that he's trying to pass?
It's similar to that bill. Yeah. That was the one that was from, which year was that from?
That was the one that was thrown out, I think, right?
Oh, a few days earlier.
Yeah, a few days earlier.
He's tried to do, I think, that before too, because we were calling it the Pave Mom tax.
Yeah, and for me personally, I think this is bad timing on both of these bills, with the numbers of youth down so much. I think that I am hoping that this somewhat hurts this bill from even getting passed through when they see the numbers of youth that have been dropping. And
it's going to put it into perspective when they see that their cigars they buy and like are going to be taxed, but that part will just be amended or stricken from,
right,
the bill.
Then well, we'll take that out if you let us tax bottled water again. Yeah. Oh man. No, and with what's going on in the world today, I mean, it's hard. That's the thing I had a hard time with, and because I got that backlash the other day, talking with someone about this, and they threw out the war, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm concerned about what's going on over there. Yeah, but this concerns me as well. And it seems like that's something that we're going to have to deal with right now, trying to push. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I was going to say, do you think that, it's things like this, right? I'm looking at it from two different angles. What I'm saying is this seems like the old smoke and mirrors kind of thing, where it's like we're all distracted over here with all this other stuff going on that has everybody all riled up. Now's the perfect time to try to push through stuff that people are going to look at, and they're not going to take as much of a serious look at it from a congressional perspective. They're going to be like, oh, so we're addressing this now. This is the least of my worries. What is this? Oh, we're just going to tax people some more for this thing that I don't like, or it's a sin tax of some kind. You know, yeah, more money for the government, whatever, you know, and they're more than inclined to just get it.
We need the money.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Well, I guess it's good that he's tried to introduce that Mama's Act for different versions at this point. So maybe that's a good thing that hasn't gotten through the last 4 times.
Yeah. The Tobacco Tax Equity Act of 2023 would also double federal tax on cigarettes, roll your own tobacco, small cigars. Okay, that's what I didn't see the first time. So they're talking about cigarellos. They're not talking about the big boy cigars that congressmen and senators and CEOs are smoking. They're talking about cigarellos, and I don't even know any of the other names. So of the smaller cigarettes.
Well, there was like Swisher Sweets and some of the other stuff, which typically people aren't even really smoking those for the intended purpose. You know, they're using those, which I don't care. I mean, you know, hey, that was probably a pretty creative thing to do. I mean, I know that they've consistently tried to come at the flavor side of that one, you know, because they had grape and cherry and all these other flavors that were relevant. And I mean, I don't know what they know, but I got to imagine they have a little insight as to exactly why people are procuring those. I think by the time you're done with it, you know, the tobacco is pretty much out of it. So,
not much
other than the leaf itself that they rolled it in. But
Swisher Sweets becomes the what is that? The Dunkin'. What is the name of the turkey they stuffed the chicken and the
turducken?
The turducken.
Yeah, the turducken of Swisher Sweets. The rates on moist snuff, pipe tobacco by as much as 2,000%. Moist snuff is safer than so it's this. They're going after everything, guys. I mean, they're not even. I don't think they've left anything out of here other than, well, the big boy cigars, which I thought was in there, but I didn't see the first time I read the article that it said small cigars. So they're not including the good cigars. They're including those. What are they, like $5 for a pack of 4?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's what I ran into the other day, and I didn't know how to respond to that person. You know, I was like, hey, you know, I get it. You know, everything's going on. The world is, going to shits, and I shouldn't be worried about, this issue. And I'm like, well, yeah. I said, cancer, cigarettes kill millions of people a year. When is that going to be an issue that everybody should start paying attention to, and we have a product here that is saving lives and no one gives a shit. And that's where I kind of went with it with them. I was just like, well, you know how many people die every year from cigarette smoke? I said, does that number not fucking count? Does that not mean anything to anyone anymore?
Right. And yes, the world's going to shit, but they're still introducing these bills, so we have to do something about it.
That's right. Yeah, they took the time to fill out. Yeah, go ahead.
No, Tom asked if it was a federal tax. Yes, Tom.
Yes,
it's nationwide.
Nationwide, nationwide. Yeah, you have no choice but to adopt it into your state. I think you can still say no, but then they go after you in other ways to where they can start taking funding away from your state. So they can say, if you don't do this, we're going to give you less money for highway projects or less money for homeless. And they have their ways of getting their money or getting their way once the feds. The press release, the new bill, the authors bragged that the legislation is endorsed by the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids and the American Lung Association, American Heart Association, the American Public Health Association, the American Academy. It goes on and on and on and on, which we all know that is true. We all know that is true, but that hurts us in a way because people look at these industry, or not industries, but these groups of individuals as people that care about people when we know the truth.
Yeah.
How do you sell that, Allie? How do you go about when you do run into somebody new that sees you vaping for the first time? I don't know how often that happens to you, but how do you go about it when someone asks you, or they kind of have a little bit of a general idea of what's taking place and how it's bad and all this other stuff? How do you go about it?
I mean, I've had people like yell at me. I had a guy yell at me one time and tell me that it was as bad as if I was sucking on a Glade plug-in. And so I mean, I try to keep calm because immediately I want to just be like, you don't know shit, but I can't do that. So I'm like,
you gotta have a good
okay.
response.
Yeah. I'm like, and he's like, well, my sister used one and it made her cough. And I was like, well, and I try to explain to him, the vapor is going to be a different kind of, hit than a cigarette, and it's thicker than smoke, and you have to learn how to vape and just I was trying to explain to him, and I said, I looked at him, I said, you really said that to the wrong person. I said, are you ready to have like a 30-minute conversation right now? Because that's how long it's going to take me to get this through your thick skull. And he did keep trying to argue with me. Eventually, he said, you're an adult, you can do what you want. And I said, I wish every other adult felt the way that you do. Because even if you don't agree with me, at least you can give me that.
Yeah.
Well, right. I mean, isn't that the overarching component here? Is that, we've got people who seem to have want to have a stake in everyone else's life but their own. And that I find that to be the most frustrating thing, especially when you come across, some of these people who, really honestly don't have anything to do with what's going on in our lives. Like vaping is not something that affects their everyday life, unless it's just that they just don't like to walk out front of their office building and seeing the people 100 yards away over there puffing on a elf bar or whatever. I mean, okay, we get that. All right. You don't particularly care for that or think it's stupid behavior or something like that. But at the same time, why do you care so much? Why does it matter to you what they're choosing to do with their life? First of all, you probably don't know anything about it, especially when you look at the opt, right? You can look at the people over there smoking cigarettes, God bless their heart, but the odds of them pulling on your tax dollars to help deal with their cancer treatment or whatever, I can kind of see your argument in that regard. But when you talk about these people that have taken a safer alternative and are using tobacco harm reduction to transition off of cigarettes with the hope that, and this is their choice, whether they intend on being done with vaping at some point in their life, because that's their end game, is to get away from it all. Applaud you for that in the end anyway. But I'm saying, but that person right there, they're no impact on your life. Do you know what I mean? If anything, your state is actually benefiting from that person, right? Because it's tax revenue to the state. And then that will improve your roads or improve your schools. So if you think about what you're doing, is you're actually taking money out of your own state's pockets by being so maniacally, argumentative about what I choose to do with my life. It's, and I'm not going to throw up the whole my body, my choice kind of thing. I hate to use that as like sort of just a generic argument to try to say but the point is, it's my life. Let me choose what I want to do with my life. Why does everybody else have to be so inserted in my life?
Right. And like I think we've had many people on this show, including all of us, say, hey, if you want to smoke, go for it. Nobody's stopping you to smoke.
We made that choice.
Yeah, we were smokers. I am certainly not condescending or deconstructive to anybody who still chooses to smoke or, has struggled with vaping and gone back to smoking. I mean, everybody's got their own trials and tribulations and path and journey. I mean, would I love it if I could find every smoker that I came into contact with and transition them to vaping just for the overall improvement that they would see in the quality of their life? and potentially down the road. But I'm not going to sit and hack on somebody who's smoking and be like, oh God, those smokers over in the corner. But ironically, that it's turned back on us though.
Yeah.
The smokers see us and they think that we're fucking Looney Tunes or some shit. And I'm like,
you're going to die faster than me.
You can't blame them though, because the stuff that is being shown to them, the ads on the TV and the information coming out of, public health is giving, if that's all you know about vaping is Truth Initiative ads and what the FDA says, you would think the same thing. I mean, we get smokers every single day that come in to the store that are terrified. It's not like I need to quit smoking anymore like it used to be. It's like, is this going to kill me? Am I going to end up with a lung injury? What's popcorn lung? I swear to you, I send more science to my staff to debunk things that they hear than I even do about new product information anymore, because that is the biggest hurdle now, and that is
you should wear a lab coat to work, Allie. Wear a lab coat to work.
I'm an epidemiologist.
Do little experiments at the end of the aisle. There, Allie will be doing some vapor experiments down in aisle 4 today. You do a little
demonstration.
I looked up the Care for Mothers Act that has been dumped several times, and I can see he did have in there a massive tax hike on premium cigars. So he did have that before. I can see why this keeps getting thrown out. It was a new tax on e-cigarettes, doubling the tax on roll your own tobacco, more than 16-time increase on pipe tobacco, and doubling the tax on small cigars, and a massive tax hike for premium cigars. So that was the Mothers Act, I guess what was it called? Mothers Act, Care for Mothers Act. I love how they put two big words in there, care and moms,
Yeah.
Got it. So it said for premium cigars, the language removes the existing federal tax of 52.75%. And capped at 40.26 cents per cigar, and replaces it with a weight-based tax of $49.56 per pound. I don't know what a pound of cigars. I don't know how much is a box.
I don't know. I mean, the only thing I really kind of know about cigars in general is that, you can go down to your local tobacco store and probably get like a El Cheapo garbage cigar, but I think on average, I think the reason why you don't see too many people taking part in the cigar contingent, it's just the price of them to persist with that. That's, to me, it feels like a more bougie kind of, kind of country club kind of thing.
Well, that's what I felt like when I went in there with my brother, and I was like, dude, you're spending $35 on a cigar? He's like,
it's like a night out. There's like a cigar wine bar downtown Charleston I've been to before. And that's like a night out. You get a nice cigar and a glass of wine, you sit outside and whatever. I did that once since I moved here, but
and then on top of that, most of the ones that people probably covet aren't even rolled locally in North America. They're probably all some kind of an imported cigar, some Italian thing or some other country where you're paying more for it anyway, just because it was imported in. So
okay, here they go. Robusto is 5x50. Average weight of one cigar is 12.54 grams. Currently up 40.26 per cigar. If the bill would have passed, it would have been an extra $1.37 per cigar. So a 240.29% increase. So and that's a lot. If you think about it, you buy a box of cigars that are. Yeah, never mind. That's a lot.
I feel like people that are buying those high-end cigars, though, really won't care. It's not going to affect them very much.
Oh, that's what I mean. Because whenever I've been privy or around groups of people where cigars start to come out outside of, the obligatory, I'm having a kid kind of thing, which you're usually getting the El Cheapos. Anytime I've ever been in a scenario where cigars have come out sort of just like loosely, like, hey, there are people that have money and it's disposable income and it's more of their hobby kind of thing,
Those
cognac
that
and
have
a
the
cigar
cutter.
kind of good. Yeah,
The guys that have the cutter in their pocket already. You know,
I can't even finish one of the damn things. You get going on it, and you're like halfway through, and you're like, I'm exhausted. I can't do this thing
smoke
anymore.
a cigar at the end of Thanksgiving dinner every year. That's kind of been our thing. We all, after we done eating, me and my brothers and my cousins and my uncles, we all go outside. Usually someone buys, 10 or 15 cigars, and we'll go smoke a cigar after Thanksgiving dinner. And every year for the last 20 some odd years, I feel sick to my fucking stomach
Yeah, it makes
because
me sick. Yeah. That makes me
I
sick to
just
the stomach.
ate this huge meal that was delicious. Italian Thanksgiving is the best, guys. When you mix Italian food and American tradition like Thanksgiving together, you get amazing food, and you hate it to go to waste.
And then you break a plate or two, and
That's New Year's. That's New
yeah.
Year's. Only on New
So
Year's.
to answer Pam's question, I did look it up real quickly. Only persons returning from Cuba after a licensed visit there are permitted to bring Cuban cigars into the United States, provided the value of such cigars does not exceed $100 and the cigars are for that person's personal use and not for resale. All other importations of Cuban cigars are illegal.
I was going to say, you can find them on the illicit market.
Yeah. It might be from Cuba. It could be from Mexico. It could be from Florida, but it will be marked
Cuba adjacent.
Adjacent. I mean, come on. They fooled thousands of people with Evale and made it look like a legitimate. When I saw that packaging, I automatically assumed that was a legitimate company. I even Googled this shit out of that company to try to find them. And I was like, well, this company doesn't exist. And lo and behold, yeah, they've got all the eBay, right? eBay and Amazon was selling packaging, and they were just buying it there. They were just buying it and then putting their own shit in there, buying pens from third party or say, and filling their own shit. And it was all those people in Wisconsin. Who's Wisconsin people? No, I'm kidding.
The cheese people?
Come on.
I was the big bust, right? Was in Wisconsin. They found that basement full of pens, and they had mason jars with their blend or whatever you want to call it already put it in mason. Yeah, I thought the big bust was in Wisconsin, right? I think I remember seeing that. I could be wrong. Sorry, Wisconsin people, but that's what I remember. That the big large bust or the first big bust was in Wisconsin, and it was tubs.
Mallory said in Racine.
Yeah. There was tubs full of those boxes already packaged and ready to go back out, and it was pretty bad. And we all said the same thing. I knew it. Well, we all knew it anyway, but no one was listening to us. And I just see.
I mean, with how long we've been vaping and how much different stuff we've tried in the past, and I mean, you could pretty much bet that it wasn't in any nicotine vaping products. I think that was pretty clear right off the rip.
Yeah. I mean, we all knew exactly what was going on because we were all teenagers at one time, and we didn't want to get busted doing that. So we made up lies. How many of us got drunk off our ass and pretended not to be drunk when we walked back in the door? But our parents knew. They knew. My mom had this little thing she did. She knew exactly how she knew we were drunk, because me and my brothers would always slam doors. We never slammed doors in the house, but when we were drunk, we would slam our bedroom door, the refrigerator door, the cabinet doors, any door that was there. We would not close it right. We would just slam it. And of course, you're drunk. You think you closed it nice and quietly. You were drinking loud. You've been drinking.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever got popped for drinking. I know that I snuck in a bunch of times after it was easy. But I never once got busted for drinking. Fortunately, I never got busted for smoking either. And now that you're a little bit more on the outside looking in, and the smell of cigarette smoke is so indicative. Like when someone's had a cigarette or just had one or whatever, there's this air that sort of lingers with that person. And I'm like, I am shocked that my parents never called me out on that once.
Yeah. I used to smoke cigarettes with rubber gloves on because my mom would always smell my fingers to see if because I'd be like, my friends smoke. I didn't smoke. So she's like, well, let me smoke. So I always had we had this tree in the back of our development. And I swear there was rubber gloves hanging all over the tree. We would just hang them. So smart.
I got away with it because my older brother smoked, but when he quit, he just quit. He got up one day and he just said, I'm not smoking anymore. And he did the toothpick thing. He had a toothpick in his mouth 24/7, and he would just keep chewing these toothpicks, throw it away, put a new one in his mouth. But it pissed him off that I continued to smoke. So one day at dinner, we're all sitting at dinner, and my dad is praising me for being good at school and all this other stuff. And Johnny's doing good. He's not in trouble. And that just pissed my older brother off. So he gets up from the table, walks down the hallway to I think he's going to his room, goes to my room, grabs my pack of Camels, comes back into the kitchen and throws the pack of cigarettes on the table and goes, yeah, this is how good Johnny is. And he's smoking cigarettes.
I got turned in.
and my dad just kind of stared at me and shook his head, and didn't say nothing, which pissed him off more. But then my mom was like, all right, no more lunch money for you. So she knew that's what I was using it for. Mm-hmm. But Allie knows this. I had one of those sweet old Italian grandmothers that would always sneak me $2 every day before I went to school.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. My mom busted me. I was at the corner deli. We weren't supposed to leave the development, but we left the development. We walked all the way up to the deli, and it was the deli, and then behind it was a strip club, and all the truckers used to come off the highway and park there and go to the deli. And so we would just hang out by the deli and get truckers to buy us cigarettes. And my mom pulls up one day and she's like, I'm going to find you on the side of the road. You're going to get abducted by one of these truck drivers. So then she started buying me cigarettes because she was more afraid of the way that I was going to get them than actually me having them. And she knew me. She's like, she's going to do it anyway. So I'm screwed either way.
Yeah. That'd be a great segment to have. How you got caught. just have a segment on the show. How your parents caught you smoking.
I don't even know how that materialized. I feel like somehow I skirted danger my whole entire high school period, because I started when I was around 15. So that basically makes me like a sophomore in high school, roughly. And
do you think your parents though might have considered you being a good kid, and it was just the people that you were hanging around with, like what Allie was saying?
I wasn't revered as the good kid though. Like my brother was more. I think, to put it into context, I wouldn't call myself necessarily a black sheep, but I was sort of the one that kind of went more against the grain in a lot of different ways, in terms of what I wanted to look like, or the music I was listening to, or the company that I kept, and all this. And then my brother was more the model citizen. He kind of framed himself and looked like what my parents thought every young man should look like. And my brother's path was, but to be honest, my brother was the chaotic one. Like, he was the one that was going to parties at friends' houses and getting hammered and passing out on the front lawn and sneaking in the house at 6 a.m. and avoiding this and avoiding that. And, and I was a little bit, I guess I just wasn't as smart or something. I'm not quite sure. But I don't ever recall my parents ever questioning me about smoking throughout high school. It wasn't until I came back from college, and I was, still smoking at that point, obviously. And I think because I had graduated to the point where I had finally moved out of the house and stuff like that, that they found out about it through that. And of course they became critical at that point. Like, but I mean, what are they going to do? I'm out of the house. I'm an independent adult. That's all they had left, was just to kind of complain about the habit, as opposed to grounding me for 2 weeks because they found me with a pack of cigarettes. That never happened.
Yeah, that's me, Jason. I mean, I smoked all throughout high school, and we were allowed to smoke. We had the smoking area right in front of the bike rack and in front of the school, but you couldn't smoke in class or on campus. And a lot of guys chewed, and that's what I did. I would chew because just about every teacher I had didn't care if you were chewing as long as you weren't spitting on the ground. So if you had a Pepsi can or a cup and they were like fine with it. They didn't care. The 80s were crazy. That's all I'm saying. I start thinking back of what we got away with in classrooms, and like that when I look at that and then think what I went through with my son JP getting suspended for having a lighter, didn't have a pack of cigarettes, didn't have any. He was smart enough not to take the cigarettes with him, but he had the lighter, and that was enough to get him expelled. And I was like, a lighter? Seriously? I said, that's a survival tip. You should have a lighter. You should carry a lighter with you.
Like, was he trying to light something on fire in class? Like, what's the problem?
That's a lighter, damn it.
Well, but didn't you go through high school like did you have like the smoking area in high school?
Yeah.
Like we had like a smoking like lounge. There was a smoking lounge that the teachers could use inside the school building. And then for the kids, we had this thing, it was called the ramp, which was basically just initially intended for handicap entrance into the school, but that's where like all the smokers hung out. And there was never, I mean, I guess because they were of age at that point, because I'm thinking the smoking age was probably 16 at that time. So, there was a lot of nuance that, you just don't experience in today's day and age.
Yeah, we had the smoking area in the front by the bike rack and a smoking area in the back of the school. The teachers did have a lounge for smoking. We weren't allowed in there.
No. We couldn't go in there either.
We couldn't go in there, but we were allowed to smoke
room
on those two sections. And then in the 80s, they trust us to leave campus to go to lunch. So we would smoke on the way to wherever we were going, Taco Bell or the sandwich shop or the pizza place. But yeah, everything was fine. As long as you were in those areas, you were fine. Nobody bothered you. But you couldn't smoke on campus whatsoever. And it's funny, talking about, getting busted and feeling that sense of like you're a bad person that you're smoking. And it doesn't seem to matter whether you are 16 or even the people because we run into some people that started late in their lives, in their 30s, that started smoking and still having that same feeling that they felt, like they were an outcast. It didn't really matter how old you were, but I don't think I felt like an out. I felt more like I let my parents down that I was smoking. Did you guys feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, of course, I knew that I was doing something that my parents would certainly frown upon. Although, you do play a little bit of whataboutism at that point in time too, because I knew that my dad had been a smoker at some point, in his life for, I believe, a very short period of time. So, I thought if I was going to get popped or busted or anything like that, he would have a small sense of forgiveness written into his, his approach to dealing with me with that kind of thing. Because I'll be honest with you, growing up my whole entire life, I mean, up until 15, when I guess the teen angst finally really started settling in, and I kind of started being a little bit more rebellious in some way, shape, or form. But I was vehemently against it. I mean, I knew that there were kids, in middle school and some in like the end of elementary school that were smoking and stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll never smoke, and so I was kind of like this anti to myself, and then, shit happens and you're mad at the world and mad at mom and dad. And I took a walk that day and ran into my friend who was kind of doing the same thing. He was taking a long walk because he was pissed at the world and pissed at the control in his life. And I'm like, give me that. Let me see what it's like.
Let me hit that.
And the rest was more or less history. So, I did feel like I disappointed them a little bit. Yeah. Just because I was.
How about you, Allie? Did you feel like you disappointed her?
Well, my mom quit smoking, but she kept an emergency pack of cigarettes in the buttered drawer, which were the most stale cigarettes ever in the entire world. And my dad smoked a pipe. He smoked pipe tobacco. And that was like his big thing, like, because, we would go like camping all the time in like Vermont, New Hampshire, and he would always stop at these tobacco shop, like country stores, and buy like a pound of like cherry tobacco, vanilla tobacco. The one time that me and my friend did try to smoke his pipe, I think I inhaled more tobacco than I actually smoked. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, my mom was disappointed, but I was the only child, so I feel like she was disappointed a lot, So
oh yeah, when you're the only child, it's times 10, baby.
Yeah, and I was a really good kid too. Like, really, honestly, I was a good kid. Like, I really didn't do much of anything else, and I just, picked it up because my friends were smoking, and I was like, let me try one, and that, that's it. Curiosity.
Yeah. Well, the priest got me smoking because I thought it looked cool. The priest was smoking, so I steal a cigarette from the priest.
Stealing cigarettes from the
priest. Well, that's also
I'm going to hell, baby.
Yeah, that's also something I forgot to throw into it now that Allison brought it up, was the fact that my dad was a tremendous pipe smoker growing up all through my youth. Matter of fact, my dad worked he was an outside sales rep for a tobacco distributor when I first moved to the Northern Virginia area. That was his first job that he had. And we had this old blue Chevy Nova SS with vinyl seats, of all things. Like, it didn't even have like comfortable seats, but that car smelled like a tobacco factory. Just that kind of Turkish tobacco and cherry tobacco.
I always liked the smell of my dad's pipe.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy that. Like, I always thought it, had this sort of, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Exotic kind of smell to it. So it was always around my youth in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know if maybe some crossover from that was able to mask some of what was going on. I'm not quite sure. I can't believe I was that smart to get away with it for that long.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious because we're all ex-smokers. I know Tim doesn't have any children, but how would you react, Tim, if your son came home and you caught him smoking today?
Well, I certainly think I would be. I certainly think that I would have an empathetic approach to it, just because I came from that space. But I wouldn't. I don't think I would come in. I'd be disappointed just knowing what I know and how it can negatively impact your life. So I would make an absolute concerted effort, to deter it, and just say, hey, look, I just don't, this is kind of fun and cool and you're experimenting. And I was in your position at some point in my life as well. But I can just tell you, as a father to, my kid, this isn't what you want to be doing. It really is going to have a negative impact on you. I can't watch you 24/7, but if you want to take any advice along the way in your life, there's a lot of other things you could do that are better for you than smoking. So
yeah, you wouldn't throw out the old ways where we hear those stories, and I think it's mostly not our generation, because I don't. My parents never even brought it up, but I don't know about other American kids. But like, you sit there and you smoke that whole pack right now.
Oh, that happened to my best friend.
No, they did.
Yeah, see, my mom told that we were at the deli, she had to smoke that whole pack.
I think if I could draw on anything that I ever saw, I think what I would probably do is take some time to expose them to the negative impacts of smoking. Not necessarily a scared straight kind of program, but say, you could probably get away with this for a little while and not see too much of an impact on your life. But I want to just show you what you could be potentially setting yourself up for, and show them the harsh reality to the negative impacts of smoking, over an elongated period of time, and say, this is what you're potentially looking at, whether it's, a voice box or, cancer in general, or some other kind of ailment that's associated to that habit, and say, is that what you want? Is that what you really want? Just because you want to be cool now, just remember this may be harder to kick than you think.
Yeah. How about you, Allie? What would happen if the sweet little
that would never happen, first of all. But I've always spoken openly and honestly with my son. We're very close. And I never felt the need to like baby him about anything. I just tell him what's up. And I mean, he remembers when I had my blood clot and how scary it was for him, and that I had to carry around the little needle dispensing, box, for the empty needles and stuff, and how I had to give myself a shot in my stomach, twice a day, and how hard that was. I mean, we were on like a road trip and we had to stop at like a rest stop so I could go in the bathroom and give myself a shot. So I think that kind of stuff is ingrained. So I think I would just remind him of what that did to me, and to make better choices than I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you fare with so many kids?
It was my son was a sneaky son of a bitch, but he figured I was one of those guys. I was one of those smokers that literally had a pack of smoke everywhere. So the front porch, pack of smokes. In my car, pack of smokes. Her car, pack of smokes in the back patio. There was always cigarettes. So I really never paid attention to, oh, there was 4 in there the other day and now there's 2. It never dawned on me that because we always talked, me and my ex-wife, about how we wish we could quit. And they always, since kindergarten, always brought it back to us like, hey, Dad, you need to quit. Yeah. So I never even thought that, hey, JP is stealing cigarettes from me. I never even thought about it. And then I realized something's not right. Now it wasn't 1 or 2 cigarettes. He was literally taking a pack, a half a pack of cigarettes. The pack would be gone, because now he was sharing with other friends. And I just told him, I remember talking to JP and sitting down with him, and I told him, basically, hey, you see me in the morning. Am I a pleasant person? He goes, no, you're not pleasant at all until you had that cigarette. I said, that's what life is going to be like. You're going to be tied to that pack of cigarettes and that cigarette for the rest of your life if you continue on. I said, everywhere you are going to be, you're going to want a cigarette, no matter what's going on. And you're going to use that cigarette, because that was the one thing that I also stressed with them, is that cigarettes will always be around you when you're at your worst. And that's how I felt. Like if something really bad was going on, a death or unemployment, something like that, you were going to be clutched to those cigarettes. And they both vape now. Well, Hopi, I was pissed. When I found out Hope was smoking, I was like, not my daughter, not my sweet little baby, man, no. But they're both vape now, and they're both doing well. Hope's completely done. She doesn't vape or smoke anymore. JP vapes, but he'll occasionally have a cigarette here and there, depending, when he's around certain people, he won't pull out the vape. But yeah, it was. I just try to stress that you don't want that to control your whole life, and I wanted them to realize that I couldn't get up in the morning without having a cigarette. I couldn't. We would have days where we were allowed to take our children to work, and the kids would come with me in my truck, and that was the worst for me, because now I can't smoke in my truck, and I need to smoke when I'm in my truck because people piss me off on the roadways. And my son would look at you, you're turning red, Dad. I go, look, so we're going to have to take this exit over here. Dad's going to get out and smoke 2 cigarettes, chill, relax. Yeah, because, and I didn't want them to have to go through that. And that's how I felt like. I felt like they became part of me, and I had to have them with me all the time, and it sucks. So I was, I don't know, man. Now I started thinking, I know Aiden's 12, but that would really piss me off. And if my grandson, when he turns 16 or something, just starts smoking, I would fucking lose my shit. What I am surprised that none of you, even including myself, well, I would have introduced, if vaping was around when JP was 16 and I know what I know today, I would have gave him that alternative, and I would have made sure I would have worked something out with him. I would have been like, hey, this doesn't go to school. This doesn't go in your backpack. This doesn't go with you when you're out and about. This is something, you're going to have to figure out how to go through the day without it to when you get home and need it. So, but yeah,
what about smokeless though? Like what, would you have considered like nicotine pouches or things of
No,
that
because
nature?
like you and I'm sure we all went through that. I've used the patch, it didn't work. I got sick to my stomach all the time. I used this, I used the gum, that did not work because that gum lasted about 4 minutes, and then it was just chewing a. Remember that cheap gum we used to get, Tim, that would last that like
Big League
flavor?
Chew? No, what?
It still lasts. That fruit stripe gum.
Yeah, the striped gum that used to
Yeah.
come in a little package.
You can
that
still buy
lasted,
that, and it still
yeah.
lasts for about. I'm like, I always bring it to work, and I'm like, you guys want 7 minutes of pleasure or 7 seconds of pleasure?
7
Yeah,
seconds
really.
of pleasure. That's it. Yeah. So I tried all that stuff, and I knew it wasn't working for me. And you assume your kids are like you, so I'm assuming it wouldn't work for them. And I wasn't. I even thought about doing the tricks that they pulled on me. When like first grade, my son's like, or Hope, put the rubber band around your wrist, Dad, and every time you need a cigarette, you pull on that rubber band and you snap yourself. I'm like, oh man, are you fucking kidding me? I'm gonna have a black and blue mark on my wrist before I get home today.
Wait, what was this one that Jason? He said if vaping was never invented, there would still be millions of adults and kids that smoke cigarettes. Of course.
Yeah, I'd be one of them.
We would all, if vaping wasn't around today, I mean, we would. The sad part is we would all be still smoking, and then we would all be still trying the same bullshit that's out there, the patches, the gum, the lozenges. We would still all be there, and they would be getting rich from us. And that's the part they love. They love the fact that every few years we're going to make that decision where we're going to do it this time. We're going to quit, and we go back and buy the $35 box of patches, and we go buy the gums, and we go buy all the other bullshit, the hypnosis and all this other crap, and we're just feeding into them. We're just giving them money because we're going to go right back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something tells me they know that these things have an extremely high failure rate, and that people, they're just not going to work for people, so that they're just going to get frustrated. And what's the first thing you do with frustration in your life when you're a smoker? You go right back to smoking. Yep. So, I mean, they kind of brought something on to market that they knew would have a high turnover rate, and there are people that do succeed with it, but I mean, that number is very low.
It's small. We talked about it on the show. It's a small number that actually get through. And God forbid, I feel sorry for the next person that walks up to me and says cold turkey, because I swear to God, I just want to bitch slap that person.
That die mentality. Yeah.
I mean, well, but that, and I guess that's the one thing that I think that when those people say that sort of thing, is I don't even think they really even can fathom what that kind of an effort requires, especially for someone. Now, it might work for somebody who's a few years into smoking, it never really took foot in their life. It just kind of became a crutch, for whatever. To maybe go to someone like that and introduce that option might work for them a little bit better, just because they don't have all those years of a droning habit, and a variable habit. I mean, when I was a smoker, I mean, I always kind of claimed myself to be, a pack a day, basically smoker. But when you're going through your 20s and you can start drinking and partying, and you're with your friends and all that, your smoking consumption goes up tenfold. I mean, you're like, holy crap, I'm back buying another pack. I just bought 2 before I went out, and these are all gone. Minus the ones that your friends bum off of you.
Yeah.
But the point is, I'm just saying it's a variable habit. So when you go to someone who's got 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of smoking under their belt, that's been such a constant in their life, and then just go cold turkey. I don't think that person really understands what they're asking that person to do. Like, do you know how many other destructive things you can pick up to try to even attempt that? Whether it be food to compensate, or turning to some other addictive habit, to fill a void. People speak, but they don't think before they speak.
Well, most of the time it's people that have never ever had to do it themselves.
That makes it worse, Al. Yeah, they never smoked. Oh, you can just Put it
Just
down.
do it. I never did it. Look at me. I'm like, well, damn, that's why you're not in this predicament.
Yeah. How about you not have that glass of wine at fucking dinner? Let's see how that works out for you, woman.
Right.
Well, yeah, and then you're gonna get the opposite side arguments from people like that. Well, I'm not really harming anybody. I'm just having my traditional 2 drinks when I get home from work, and it's it's not. I mean, you're kind of. You're not really making a just argument in that play. I'm just saying, okay, well then fine, just give it up, flat out, just give it up. Just don't do it anymore. Come home tomorrow and have a juice box. How about
get you some harm reduction? Have a glass of water.
Exactly. Fake wine. Do they make that? Yeah, it's called grape juice.
Yeah,
grape
they do.
Juice.
They make it.
Well, what I can't stand, the one thing that really drives me up the wall is the different standards for what, like even Tim has said it earlier in the show, is what I say. I'm an adult. I should be able to do this. And the different standards for different things, like with alcohol, nobody gives a fucking rat's ass if you're drinking a 5th of Jack Daniels. You're an adult. You have a right to do that. But yet I don't have a right to buying a vape that I desire it to have a flavor, which is helping me to quit. But I can't have that, even though I am an adult making an adult decision. But it's okay to do these other things. You have the different standards for addiction or even other adult things that we do on a day-to-day basis. It just bugs the shit out of me when I
feel
hear
like it's always been like that stigma, like people that smoke are less than, looked at differently. And now that's the same case with vaping, because people equate them as the same thing.
Yeah. Allie, you have something you wanted to talk about? We have a few minutes before we do Timmy.
I'm going to talk about this new thing that happened today because it really pisses me off. And I know everybody knows because I posted about it on Twitter. Most everybody in the chat, we're on Twitter together. And I did not send this one to you, John, because this kind of happened late in the day today. So I'll throw this.
Is it the EU article?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So RJ Reynolds, man, they are really, tell me that you're about harm reduction and then do some shit like this, and I'm not saying all big tobacco is bad. I do believe that there are some that genuinely want to make the transition, but RJ Reynolds would love to just destroy us all first. So we all know that RJ Reynolds has done in the past, pleading with FDA to ban, disposables. Well, now they filed a U.S. International Trade Commission complaint charging multiple manufacturers, distributors, and retailers of the most popular disposable vapes with unfair imports. The action follows their efforts earlier this year to stem the tide of disposables that compete with its used products. I wouldn't even say it competes because no one is buying that shit. So the ITC has not yet taken action on the complaint. It was filed on the 13th of October, and they would like them to investigate and issue an exclusion order preventing further U.S. imports of disposable vaping products. Good luck.
Of course.
There's so many not even legitimate vaping products coming across. Across and through customs. So basically, should they succeed, the market for flavored vaping products that people could fully shift from a gray market to a full-on underground black market. So the top distributors are importing Breeze, Elf Bar, Escobar, Hyde, Puff Bar, R&M disposables. They're going after Big Eyes, Element Vape, Flawless Vape, Magellan, Me One, Price Point Distributors, and Vape Sourcing as just a few of the names that are in here. It's in violation of the Tariff Act of 1930.
30, baby. They went deep, Allie.
Yeah.
They went deep.
Yeah. They're just really something else right now. And, another thing that we've been hearing about is them going into vape shops and trying to get owners of vape shops to sign off on this, to say that they agree with this. And I'm like, listen, if anybody from RJ Reynolds comes into your vape shop, tell them to go kick rocks, because you'll be next once they get these off the market. They're not your friend. They clearly want to be the only product on the market. And this is obvious by what they're doing. Obviously, the competition from disposable vapes, they're everywhere right now. They've taken over. That's what happens when you create an illicit market and deny 99.9% of PMTA applications. Love them or hate them, they do help people quit smoking, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. I feel like this is the FDA's problem, but the company suggested in their earlier FDA petition that these could be laced with fentanyl, which we all know is bullshit. Yeah. So it's just really unfortunate to see, RJ Reynolds trying to go after and not winning any brownie points with the FDA because, they just got a denial for their menthol and berry menthol pods.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's really sad.
Maybe I don't understand this, but I don't get why people don't realize that the FDA has one job and one job only, and that is to regulate products. And you have a product that, and we see it with everyone turning in their PMTAs, right? We want a product. We want our product out there. We want you to regulate it. We want you to go through it.
Yeah, we just want it fair. We just want fair regulations. Yeah.
Why do people that are outside our vaping industry and vapors and all that, why wouldn't these consumers want our product out there, knowing that there won't be a black market out there? There's going to be a product that is going to be out there that is going to be manufactured the way it's supposed to be manufactured. The ingredients are going to be what they're supposed to be, and they're going to be regulated constantly by the FDA. I would rather, and that applies with anything. That's like, okay, well, tomorrow morning, I'm just going to say, hey, you know what? I invented my own Vicodin. I'm going to go put it out there and you can get it, come on. That's what I'm saying. I would rather have something that I know, unfortunately, the FDA or whatever government agency actually took the time to make sure this product was going to be safe for me and whoever else is using it.
And we were excited about it to be able to tell our customers that this has got a marketing approval. Like the FDA saw our science and agrees with us that this is safer than smoking. We wanted that.
Yeah. I mean, you guys want that on your label. Just having that on your label changes that customer's attitude when they come into your store. Instead of the guy in the trench coat, I love using that, but opening, it's just gonna say mango on it, or just gonna say, you don't know who.
It's gonna say good luck on it. That's what it's gonna say.
Yeah. And we were in an industry. How everybody remembers how fed up and pissed off we got when those leaked photos came from some of these big makers that were making the shit in showers and tubs and stuff, and around dirty laundry and diapers, and we got now we have a way to making sure that we have a legitimate manufacturer, a legitimate distributor, and a legitimate shop selling a product that we know now is safe for us to use. And they're taking that away from us. And that's what I don't understand, how other people outside of this industry or outside or that are non-vapors, it's the same thing that goes with your food. Wouldn't you rather buy some food that was actually regulated by the FDA that is safe to eat? I mean,
and let's just be real. At the end of the day, what do these people make money off of? At the end of the day, the bulk of their money is cigarettes still. Yeah. This is a cigarette company that's trying to snuff out competition. This has absolutely nothing to do with harm reduction.
Yeah. Right. Oh, and that to the general public, that automatically should have some red flags pop up in your mind. Why is RJ Reynolds doing this? Oh, wait a minute. They have 2 products already on the market approved by the FDA already, So I mean,
no one's buying them, and this is their hissy fit.
And they make it sound like they're selling out. They make it sound like they're just selling out of those things. And I'm just like to myself, I literally seen the same box of their stuff on this one shop, general store that I go to. It's this. He goes, no, I have not sold a single one of those. He goes, but I sell the shit out of these. Oh, Timmy, you know what time it is?
Sure. Let's talk some news and advocacy.
Well, hold on. Let me give you your proper intro.
Go ahead.
And yeah, Skid Row officially now makes money every time we use this song.
It's funny that you mentioned that because Rob Hammersmith, the drummer for Skid Row, is a friend of ours here in Atlanta. So when he's not touring, we see him at shows all the time because he's tired of being cooped up in the house all the time. So I'll mention that to him next time.
Yeah, get our rights for it. Then we'll play.
It's like, yeah, man. You know, you should thank me because I'm putting in 30-second 1/100th of a cent in your pocket every time I do news and advocacy on the show. Fuck you changed his name for the show, and I caught it out of the corner of my eye when I was looking, and it's now Fa of the cute, and he separated the T and the Ube, the T-Ube family. So that you get through me for a tongue twister there, but I just thought that was funny as hell. Steve Tottenham, good to see you. I know I saw some other names that jumped in here. Jason Vapes, we've been talking to you for a bit. Great to see you on the show. I'm just kind of Don Shirako Ioko in the house. Good to see Don. Yeah, I think I was just Rifleman is here too. So I just wanted to catch up with some of the names that weren't here at the beginning. Anyway, so let's talk a little news. And I thought one that we could look at, just sort of I don't know, I put up a post earlier today. I don't know, my own twisted take on the world. And I said in my X, formerly Twitter post, I said, we live in a world where people sit around and hope for the worst to happen just so they can have their gotcha moment. Yep. And I said, and adults who choose nicotine vaping for a more safer and effective form of tobacco harm reduction won't extend that courtesy to the ants. Why? Because vaping saves lives. Gotcha. So anyway, I this was, we say we want to talk about things that are good. I guess you could say this is good. It's just more evidence, for the Rolodex to hold on to. But hold on, let me share this one. It's been kind of circulating on Twitter the last week or so. I feel like I've seen the post several times. Hold on. Why can't they just put that back to share instead of present? We're not that formal on the show.
I say it every time I do it.
Yeah, sure. I'm like present. That's I used to say present when I had, when we took roll call in class. I got to make sure I pick the right one. Where's the right one? I don't know how to pick the right one. Oh, is it this one? It's this.
We don't want to see what you Google.
No, it's okay. I just there's so many other sub windows open. I wish it would just go back to the whole idea where, whatever you decided to show at the time. I'm trying to make it bigger. All right, so this is a pattern of flavored e-cigarette use among adult vapors in the United States. So this is an online cross-sectional survey of about 70,000 people. Wow. 69,000.
The largest one to date. Yep.
Yes, 69,233. I'm sure people will remember Dr. Farsellino's name circulating, I think, right when we first kind of came under significant heavy fire from the federal government, and all the vape bans were getting ready to, kind of ignite. He had his own independent survey that he put out, which I think all of us took part in, to try to return numbers for the sake of argument, were you a smoker? Yes. How long have you been vaping? If you've been vaping, what types of products are you using? And then, of course, there was a large chunk or large segment of that survey that had to do with flavors and things, because one of the consistent arguments that we consistently hear all the time is adults don't like flavors. If you're going to have bubblegum flavored e-liquid, certainly an adult doesn't want to purchase that. That's really meant for kids. So this does address that once again. I think the results are indicative of consistency here. But I just thought we'd kind of go over the study a little bit. We don't have to get into the true deep weeds of it. If you want to read it yourself. I will go ahead and put the link to the study in the chat right now, and you can go read all the granular scientific numbers and stuff, because that's usually most things people are like, I don't understand it. I'm just going to go right past it. But the background for, well, let's read the top part. So the abstract. So the background was flavored e-cigarettes remain a controversial topic, with regulators planning or already implementing restrictions worldwide. In this study, we examined patterns of flavor use in e-cigarettes among a convenience sample of U.S. adult vapors. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't even know this survey was going on. I don't know how the subjects were chosen or how they got their hands on this particular survey. I would have gladly taken part in this. The basic methods were participants aged greater than or equal to 18 years who reported ever using an e-cigarette were included in the study. There's your constant, 69,233 people, and responded to an online questionnaire. Their smoking status was recorded, as well as patterns of flavor use at e-cigarette use initiation, at the time of survey, and at the time of smoking cessation for participants who used to smoke and were using e-cigarettes at the time of quitting. So, shocker to all the paves and moms and aunts and the people who love to argue that adults want nothing to do with flavors whatsoever. We would much rather have air-flavored e-liquid. The most popular flavors at e-cigarette use initiation were fruit. Once again, baby. It's fruit at 82.8%. And I don't think that there really could be an argument anymore that flavors play a massive part in vaping being as effective as it is, because it's that flavor that helps disassociate you from the smoke and inhalation that you were taking on. Because I think we can all agree that, cigarette smoke doesn't smell the best after it lingers, or when it's in your house or on your clothes or on your furniture or in your car or whatever. But it really is a big catalyst to, first of all, getting people to get onto vaping because it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable, aromatic thing, and then ultimately retention and continuing to keep people vaping because they enjoy the flavors far more than they need that just cigarette to kind of satisfy the addiction, which ends up being more harmful in the long run. So fruit was number one at 82.8%, and then that was followed up by dessert, pastry, and bakery. I started as a desserty guy, so I was part of that 68.6%. But just for me, my taste buds desired something different, and so I transitioned to mostly fruits, and then candy, chocolate, and sweet. Now, candy for me seems to be kind of a walk the line kind of thing. I mean, when you say,
I never found anything that I enjoyed. Did you guys? You, Tim?
Yeah, but what do you mean when you say candy? What do you think?
Remember
of, John?
the Lifesavers?
But isn't that fruity?
Soup, sour gummies.
Okay.
I use a gummy worm. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of put candy a big part of the time into the fruit flavors, because they'll say it's Jolly Rancher, but it's just green apple or something like that. And they try to make it relative to what a Jolly Rancher would taste like. But regardless of that, 52.2%. Slightly higher prevalence of using fruit and dessert, pastry, bakery flavors were observed in those who never smoked compared to those who were currently and formerly smoking. Tobacco flavors, coincidentally, were used by 20.8% of the participants and was by far the least prevalent among participants who never smoked. Me personally, I never could stay attached to the tobacco flavors because I think I was hunting for that relevance taste between I remember, like cigarettes were tasted like when I smoked them, and then you do a tobacco flavored vape, and it was like, this, I don't know,
nutty almost.
Yeah, it was just kind of, it was kind of papery and just didn't really do anything for me. I didn't enjoy it whatsoever. So I know there are people out there who say they find some tobacco flavored vapes that just are amazing, but not this kid. I don't know. At any rate, moving along, similar patterns were observed with participants' choices at the time of survey, but tobacco flavor use was substantially reduced, 7.7%. Only 2.1% reported tobacco as the single most often used flavor. Ironically, even based on the study and based on what we know about flavors or devices or e-liquids that have actually been accepted by the FDA and are able to be out on the market are precisely tobacco flavored vapes. So even with those out on the market, you can already see that they more than likely will not succeed as a methodology for people to pick up vaping. So it's like they want to act like they threw us a bone when they really didn't throw us a bone. You know what I mean? We'd all have to somehow find a way to struggle through that tobacco flavor, to try to stay in the game. But again, they kind of repeat themselves. The most prevalent flavor at the time of quitting smoking again was fruit. So we can dispel that myth completely. So let's just finish with the conclusion so we can move on to some other things. Non-tobacco flavors were popular among the U.S. adult vapors who participated in the study and were popular choices at the time of quitting smoking for those who formerly smoked. Tobacco flavor use prevalence was low and further reduced over time. There we go. Regulators should consider the flavor choice of adult consumers, especially those who quit smoking, when preparing legislation on flavored e-cigarettes. But I think, it's studies like this that, kind of benefit us in the greater sense of having those conversations with people who might be doubters or think that, this was all indicatively marketed towards kids to get them addicted to it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that, sure, I think flavors could be some element of an attractant for kids because, kids like flavors too, but even more so when we talk about tobacco harm reduction and vaping as a method to reduce your cigarettes or your cigarette use and eventually move to a point of cessation, flavors play a prominent role in that component. And then if you guys stay with the link, there's a lot more. They explain vaping and just sort of provide some additional descriptors and education behind all that. So
I think it's crazy that the initiation of the tobacco flavors was 21%. And then when they had fully transitioned over, it went down to like 7.8%. And it's like, well, that's what we've been saying, sense of smell, taste buds, like all that stuff kind of, gets a new life after you quit smoking. And so, you don't want something that reminds you of what you used to have. Now your tastes have changed and you want something that tastes good.
So wait a minute. I'm reading this right now. The questionnaire was open for participation from April 3rd to May 2nd, 2018. So this data was collected quite some time ago. I guess it takes that long to get through all of those particular parameters. So I mean, I wonder, is this an additional result as with relevancy to the survey that we all took part in?
It might be. It might be that one. Yeah. Yeah, it might be that one we all took. Yeah.
The questionnaire assessed in detail the past and current smoking status of participants. So 2018, that sounds about right. I feel like it was right around that time frame. So I was unaware that this was all part of that original survey. But I do think that he did return results from that survey, I think within the year originally, because that was submitted to the federal government initially. I think that was given.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
So that's good stuff, though. I mean, but I don't even though this is being talked about now, I still don't think that that this 82.8% number is untrue today.
No, it's probably about the same, if not more.
Exactly.
When you start trying to take something away, you just it works both ways. Adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go on. This was one that I had actually pulled
That's
last
us in
week.
The background.
Yeah. Yes, it was one that I pulled from last week, and hold on, let me find it here.
I'm going to pick Allie's nose.
I think this is the one.
No, it's stupid. The thing is so stupid when it comes to flavors, and it baffles me that everybody doesn't realize you eat certain things because you enjoy the way they taste. You like Coke because you like the way Coke tastes, other than Pepsi. The same thing applies to anything we do every day, even vaping. We choose to vape and help us with harm reduction and avoid smoking because we have these choices. We have flavor choices. It just baffles me that doesn't come into play.
True.
Go ahead, Tim.
When I was reading Tom's statement, explain percent numbers, please. Is that for me, Tom? Would you like me to explain percent numbers? You're talking to a guy who didn't have the best success in high school with math. But anyway, you can answer that question when you hear it come across. All right, I pulled this one last week because I thought, if we had time, after Diane, that we could get into discussions like this. But we talked about this on the show last week, and we talked about general assessment, assessment studies that are predicated based on the legislation that they're trying to pass through. And as we all know, that I think the final revision for the menthol ban was now presented to Congress.
It's in review. Yeah,
it's in review now.
Well, the OMB has to review the economic impact.
Right. So I thought this one was an interesting one to talk about. This is a national coalition of justice practitioners, the NCJP, unite against the U.S. Food and Drug Administration proposed ban on menthol cigarettes. And without getting into deep conversations about indigenous groups or demographical groups, I think we all kind of understand what this menthol ban could potentially mean for particular segments of our society, in that there's such a large percentage of those groups that use menthol cigarettes. And so, the unintended consequences of prohibitions and bans usually lead to other unintended consequences, which is going to be black market crime, increased policing, things of that nature, just because when people can't get the thing that they are consistently used to getting their hands on, and you're just going to pull the rug out from underneath of them. And it's my guess that, even though this menthol ban would come into some element of review, it's probably still got to go through the same channels in order to get approved and make its way to the president in order for it to become a federal law. So you're looking at probably years down the road that we're going to see any ramifications from these particular proposals. I think what's more scary in general is that they decided to push this stuff through as well. So experts ask government for racial impact study before a federal menthol ban. And I think these particular types of studies should be done in all instances where they want to indicatively remove something from the public sphere and say, well, you're not allowed to have that anymore. Now, I mean, obviously, certain things, could have more harm overall, but this one I think is really more of a targeted effort. So as of August of 2023, the National Coalition of Justice Practitioners, who are a group of Black and Hispanic law enforcement executives and experts, hosted the When Good People Write Bad Policy National Press Club panel event to educate people about the racial and criminal implications of a menthol ban. The panel met before the U.S. Food and Drug Administration announcement anticipated to come this month. So let's read some of the quotes here. So there are many groups who still do not understand the unintended consequences of this proposed ban, said Dr. Benjamin Chavez, president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association and panel moderator. For leaders in Washington to consider this ban without consulting Black and brown officers is disastrous. And I think a lot of us have erred on the side of caution on this one and felt that this was, to some well, to a large extent, a bit of a racist policy, right?
Yep.
Because it's really sort of targeting one particular group. So you're going to go after the menthol smokers, which I think across the board, when you look at, smokers / vapors in general, menthol is a pretty common, flavor throughout. I mean, it just happens to impact certain groups moreover than others. Let's sit down with proponents and first conduct a racial impact study. Targeting in the past doesn't justify targeting now. We are against racial targeting and profiling all of it. So who's on this panel? So Commissioner Giles Shipp, Major Neil Franklin, New York, was that a NAFLA Youth Survey? Is that NYS? NYS Trooper, New York
State.
Okay, New York State Trooper, EAP Director. Good Lord, that's a big title, sir. Elliot Boyce, who is retired. Deputy Inspector Corey Peggs, Captain Sonia Pruitt, Lieutenant David Daniels, the third retired, Chief John the First, John I. Dixon retired, and Ron Hampton, DC Metro Police retired, asked that President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris pull back on this menthol ban until further studies like a racial impact study could be done and more experts are heard. I don't think that they heeded that warning. This seems like this was in August, September, and they've already pushed it through for review, and we're into October. So
what do cops know? What do cops know?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's, obviously, they're overlooked considerably at this point in time as well. The August 10 When Good People Write Bad Policy panel event urged lawmakers to study the effects of a menthol ban by launching a racial impact study that gathers input from law enforcement, health experts, and Black and Latino communities, which begs me to be curious and wonder if Diane Goldstein might have had any, if she was spoken to. This might have been a good one to ask her. She probably knows about this panel. I'm sure she's fully aware of it just based on the organization that she works with. But I'd be interested to know what involvement she might have had on that. So maybe I can parking lot this one for her, and then next time when she comes back, we can ask her if there was any insight to that. So here's the unintended consequences. Anything you ban becomes illegal, and it is a policing issue. Enforcement of a menthol ban will be in more urban and Latino communities and used as a tool in racial profiling, stop and frisk, and arrests. And the police do not need another reason for a stop and frisk that leads to life-threatening casualties in the Black community. And I think that that's relevant to all aspects of this in general, just because, like I said on the show last week, it's like you're gonna institute these policies, and then you're gonna immediately take people who are responsible for their own actions. I agree. But you're going to turn them all into criminals effectively, and you're going to accelerate the illicit market and the black market, and that's going to put even more lives in danger. Not only the people that are buying these products that are coming off the illicit market, but the people who are now the source of providing those particular products, right? Because the police are going to have to interact with them as much as people who are getting these things illegally. So, I obviously, we can go into the numbers and stuff like that. This has been listed in a lot of other articles, but it's unfortunate that it seems as though these people were flatly ignored. And maybe it did take place. I just don't think you can do a serious impact study in about a month's time. So it sounds to me like they were pretty much snuffed out. So I don't know what has become of this particular panel. Maybe I can find some follow-up information on that, but they seem to not, the government doesn't seem to care about doing any impact studies based on policy choice. Go ahead, Allison.
The crazy thing is vaping it. Kevin, he had posted a few days ago on Twitter, a Google search results from 2021, add menthol to cigarettes was like 2 million hits in 56 seconds or 0.56 seconds. And then 2022, it was almost it was over 3 million in 0.44 seconds. And then now we're up to almost 4.5 million in 0.36 seconds. That's how many people are looking up how to add menthol to cigarettes. Like they don't there's no one's looking at that. No one's taking that into account at all. But obviously we already know that because look what they've done with vaping. They clearly don't care about an illicit market.
Exactly. All right. I got 2 minutes. I got one left. And it's advocacy. So hold on. Let me
go.
I got to, sorry, John, I got to stop the screen first and then I got to share the screen again.
Present again.
Right. So this one also is floating around. It's another call to action. Another call to action that is taking place, and this one is a flavor ban in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So I am
shocking,
right? So again, this is another House bill that's looking to take flavors off the market and make them not accessible to people in a particular state. So if you were from the Pennsylvania area, I suggest you go over to the CASA page. While you're doing the federal one, pop on over to the state calls to actions, go to Pennsylvania, and you'll find this one about HB 1161.
I think they heard it this morning.
Was it this morning? Upcoming meetings and public hearings. Unfortunately, I can't switch over. Wednesday, October 18th, Judiciary voting meeting. So it was today.
But I did post it on Twitter early this morning, and let me see if I can find Greg's response, because he did respond, and apparently temporarily it is dead.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I've always brought up the fact that Pennsylvania seems to be that one state which is always out of the news. So when Tim said Pennsylvania, I was like, wow, something changed there. But obviously, if it's been held up, then they're holding their ground, because they were one of the original states to put into action the tax, and yeah, it did affect a lot of vape shops, but it kept the product out on the market. But they've been one of those states that you just literally don't hear anything about. You know, they're happy with the tax. It may not be, the best way to go about it, but but being able to keep the vape shops open and flavors still on in the market is pretty impressive. So whatever Pennsylvania is doing, Tennessee, I think we should start looking into all these states that are doing something right.
Yeah. So yeah, but well, if it's temporarily dead, then I guess it's after the fact. I didn't realize that the meeting was actually today. But if it is temporarily, effectively dead, then that's good news. But I would just still say stay vigilant, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of times when things go dead like this, we all kind of take a breather and drop into punt mode, and I don't think that is a good position to take. I would say
you have to always be active.
Keep your eyes on, because there's always going to be one.
It says that there's a delay. So the Pennsylvania House Judiciary Chairman stated that HB 1161 needs a little work, and that meetings will take place between stakeholders and the prime sponsor. So he says a delay, but the bill is far from dead. Okay. So get on it. Yeah.
Yep. So keep
that means more tax.
Exactly.
It'll stick around, but more tax.
Exactly. So that's it. That's all I got for this week. I hope you walked away a little bit more informed and full of numbers and information. So
I love that Timmy sound.
No, I would never have guessed that.
I was going to give him the failed one because the article was old, but then you backed him up. I was going to give him this one. We are done. We are at the 2-hour mark. Thank you, everybody out there in chat, for joining us. Thank you, Tim, and good to see Allie back. Allie, would you like to let everybody know again who will be joining us next week?
So Drew Johnson will be who is running for Congress in Nevada. He is a huge pro-vape guy. Definitely tune in to see what he has to say. I'm excited about, because he kind of also has like an inside look on what's going on, and maybe he can give us a little bit more, information on what's going on. But if you live in Nevada, I'm pretty sure that's your guy.
Yep. All right, guys, we'll see everybody next Wednesday. We got a great guest scheduled. We should have everybody back with us next Wednesday as well. Peace out and good night. Where's that button?
Bye, guys.
There it is.